I want to go back to Deion for just a second.
Oh,
Deion is one of the most fascinating coaching candidates around because he can say whatever he wants to because he's Deion Sanders. He doesn't have to play the game. When he first, or his camp, however it got out that he had been offered contact, whatever the semantics were about the Colorado thing, my knee-jerk reaction was, well, if I were Colorado and I did offer him, I would rescind it right now. Just because if you're not going to keep that circumspect and keep that to yourself, then that shows two things to me, is that maybe, you're not serious about my job, number one. And number two, it would signal to me that you getting the offer is more important than what you're going to do with the job. But then I started thinking about it a little more, and I thought, you know what? This is refreshing, because instead of playing the game, Deion just told the truth, which was kind of great,
Yeah.
And I thought, you know what? So what? If he says he got the offer and he eventually decides to take the Colorado job, it's not really going to impact whether he does a good job. So, I mean, at first, I think because you just don't hear it, I was like, I'd rescind that offer if he can't keep it to himself. And then I studied on it more, and I thought, no, why not? Good for him. He's Deion Sanders. He's earned that. He can do what he wants.
Yeah. Well, Joel Klatt of Fox has been part of the Colorado search. Like, people who interviewed for the job at Colorado have talked X's and O's with Joel. I think Gary Barnett too, who's their radio guy. So there are some sort of natural interwoven media pieces to the to this Colorado job. But it is just that job opened the weekend we were in Boone, I believe, because I went to Nashville if it wasn't the weekend we were in Boone, it was one of the weekends we were in Clemson, maybe the weekend we were in Clemson. Mm-hmm. So again, that job opened a long time ago, and they've had a bunch of chances to fill it. And so it'll be really interesting to see if it does end up being Deion, and then, how he handles all the responsibilities. He's never been in an FBS school. He's never, been in Power 5 school. How do you manage the board? How do you manage the roster? How do you manage the portal? It will be a really interesting administrative challenge for Rick George to kind of get Deion up and get him running there in Boulder, which is a place where there's not really a big natural recruiting base. It's a complicated place to win. And Deion Sanders has shown he can win at Jackson State. There's no doubt about that. He has got a talented roster, playing really well. His son's a quarterback, Shador. And look, when we were there, they looked every bit. If you had told me that was Southern Miss, nobody would have blinked, right?
Yep.
Like, I mean, they looked every bit the part on the hoof when we were there. And it'd be interesting to see how Deion handles some adversity, because their roster is really bare bones right now at Colorado, and they'll certainly have a portal infusion. There's no doubt about that, but this isn't going to be USC where they're knocking on the door of the playoff next year. So Deion, there have been moments where he has not handled adversity well. So it would be interesting to see year 3 and 6 and just the stuff that happens as the season goes. And again, the Colorado football program isn't exactly covered like the Alabama football program, but there's going to be scrutiny. There's going to be more accountability. Mm-hmm. You can't yell at a reporter because he calls you by your first name. Like some of the Deion celebratory Deion stuff might get a little old, right? Like, can you run a program that you are the primary heartbeat and energy of, and everything revolves around you at that level? I don't know. I think I would love to see it happen.
Isn't that what all college coaches do?
They are.
At the end of the day. I mean, they really do. They may do it with a different type of personality, but I mean, every college coach is about that.
Yes. No. I mean, look, we are in the cult of coach, and it's worse in basketball than in football in some ways. Yeah. But yes, the cult of coach is very much alive. Just look at their salaries and look at their, the graphics on the walls and their camps and everything like that. But Deion's going to take that cult to a whole new level. And I'll be there will be people who think he's going to, I've talked to people who think he's going to go win a national title. And I talk to people who think he's going to be an abject, miserable failure. And I talk to ADs who'd hire him as second. And I talk to ADs that wouldn't touch him with a 10-foot pole. So there's just, the reason it is so interesting, Rece, is that it is so divisive. right? Like if you go hire Jamie Chadwell at one of these open jobs, just to use like your hot mid-major coach of the moment, right? Like Jamie Chadwell's probably going to win, you know, and you talk to 10 people that say, yeah, he does a good job. He runs a good offense. You know, he's an innovative guy, won at lower levels. We'll see. You talk to people who think Deion could run the place into the ground, and you talk to people who think they could bring him back to the Eric Bieniemy glory days. And so like, let's go, let's let it rip. We say it all the time on here. This is a $1 billion entertainment business, and there will be no place that could offer more potential entertainment than Boulder next year if Deion's there.
Thanks for watching ESPN on YouTube. For live streaming sports and premium content, subscribe to ESPN+.